Um, before we get into the combine talk, there was one trade, like main trade that I want to talk about. If I can get the graphic finally pulled up here. Hold on.
Oh, yep.
I
Screw
lost.
me.
Yeah, no. David
Step
Montgomery has been
aside.
traded from the Detroit Lions to the Houston Texans. I'm gonna was for like a fifth round pick, a seventh round pick, and an offensive lineman. Does that sound right, Braden?
It was a fourth, an offensive lineman, and a
Oh,
seventh.
okay. Yep. I don't remember the offensive lineman's name. I don't mean to
Juice Scruggs.
disrespect. Okay. See, that's why we have Braden. All right, because he knows that stuff off the top of his head, and that makes my life a lot easier. But I want to get your thoughts on this move by the Houston Texans. Obviously, this means the end of Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit, which is kind of sad. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Texans acquiring David Montgomery?
So the Texans seem to just have their list of players to acquire. Like the requirements is too long, too deep. It's 30-year-old running back, Cyclone. If you hit one or both of those boxes, congratulations, there is an offer to be a Houston Texan in your mailbox already. But seriously though, Montgomery he's a heck of a running back. Was behind Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, who had himself a monster season. That Sonic and Knuckles duo, like you mentioned, was crazy for Detroit the past 3 or 4 seasons, really, as long as Gibbs has been in the league. But yeah, I mean, I guess we don't really know if Mixon's going to be on that roster long term. Nick Chubb is somebody we don't know if they're going to be there long term. It's kind of just Montgomery and Woody Marks. So I really don't hate that for the Lions or for the Texans. I don't really hate it for the Lions either, but I will say Montgomery going from the Lions offensive line to the Texans offensive line, and they lost Titus Howard and Juice Scruggs like the same day, two starters. I'm sorry, buddy. As somebody who needs to be going like between the tackles where he does most of his damage, his job just got about 5 times harder. Very unfortunate to see that as an Iowa State fan who wants all Cyclones to do as well as possible in the NFL. But from the Lions' perspective, I mean, it's not awful trade value. I think Montgomery only had, 1, maybe 2 years left on his contract. He's obviously getting up there in age. What is funny, though, is the Lions drafted a running back in like the third or fourth round last year, and not a soul has said anything about him taking the RB2 spot. It's just been, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get 50 carries a game, which, to be fair, he is and probably should be. He is a very talented running back. But it'll be very interesting to see how that Detroit offense goes, especially since they now have Drew Petzing calling the plays. I feel like nobody talks about that as much. Insane how he still has a job, let alone an upgrade. But yeah, we'll see how this goes overall for both teams. I don't think there's a true like winner or loser here. Actually, no, there is a loser. The loser is David Montgomery because he has to run behind the Texans' offensive line.
Another move that would have been great happening a year ago for me personally, because I was this close away from buying Texans Chiefs tickets, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to. If this trade would have been happening last offseason, I would have been purchasing tickets when they went on sale. But that's only because of my Cyclone bias and everything. I mean, David Montgomery has had the worst luck on teams in terms of like the offensive lines when he's been like the teams that he's been on. Chicago, it was rough, and I mean, heck, they had a nickname for their entire running back room at one point. I think they did the Run DMC like type thing. Went to Detroit, now is struggled a little bit from time to time, and also the fact that when he's on the field, Detroit put him in a crappy situation because towards the end of his tenure there, if they weren't inside the 20, he didn't really get any touches. And then when he was inside the 20, everybody went, "Oh, I can bet who's getting the ball now." Am I underwater again?
You are
You
underwater
might need
again.
to scooch like 5 inches closer to your mic.
Yeah, I think every time you lean back, it's like there's some sort of like background noise eliminator that is absolutely cooking you right now.
Yeah,
My back has been killing me, so I've
there
been
you go.
trying not to like lean forward like I normally do. Sorry.
You're good.
What
You
all
could
did
probably
you
just
hear?
grab the mic and just kind of do one of these if you have to.
What's going on in Houston? Sorry, no.
What is going on in Houston? That's
What
a
is
great
going on?
question.
But sorry, no. I guess I don't know how much you guys understood of what I was saying. But Demont's never been in a good situation offensive line wise. It seems like any of the teams that he's been with, except for maybe the first year or so with Detroit. But Chicago wasn't necessarily a good area. I remember Chicago fans who are also Iowa State fans were like begging Chicago to get him out of there just for the sake of his career. And then Detroit struggled a little bit. And like I said earlier, inside the 20 is the only time Demont really got the ball. So every team knew what was going on towards the end of his tenure there. So we'll see what Houston does. I mean, credit to Detroit for trying to up their offensive line, but I feel like one of the guys that would have benefited from a better offensive line is the guy that you ended up sending. But yeah, I think this is like a lateral move for both teams in terms of like I don't think any team's going to significantly now I can't even speak. My mic doesn't work, can't speak. We're thriving today. Kyler's gone. I don't have a quarterback. Significantly improve either team from this trade. I don't think either team is going to benefit a ton from it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Houston gave up like a pretty substantial haul for like when I saw this report that he was getting traded, I'm like, it's probably a late round pick swap, but a fourth round pick and a player is like that's like worthy compensation. And Montgomery's been great. He did have the lowest yardage total of his career last year, but he also had the lowest carry total. He had the second highest yards per carry total of his career at 4.5 yards per carry, which is really, really good. Second only to his first year in Detroit when he absolutely balled out, had 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns. Like, he's still really good. And obviously, with Gibbs as the starter last year, doesn't really get like a whole lot of the focus on the offense. Really just when they get inside, like Brock said, like in the 20-yard line or they get on the goal line, Montgomery gets a lot of that workload. But he is now getting sent to Houston. What does this mean for Houston in your guys' eyes? Because we kind of touched on the Detroit part of it. But what does this mean for Houston and them going forward?
They want CJ Stroud to actually turn into mashed potatoes back there. Maybe this is trying to take some more pressure off of him, trying to give a little bit more of pressure in the run game. But I'll give you a hint, Houston. You want to improve the run game? It's the same way you improve the pass game. Get some offensive linemen. Quit trading away any offensive. You already have bad offensive line starters. Why are you trading even the bad guys away? It kind of makes sense a little bit. Get rid of the bad, but then you don't replenish them with good. You replenish them with even worse. Like, I really don't know. Like, Montgomery, like I said, is talented, but he is talented when he has an offensive line to run behind. When he doesn't have an offensive line to run behind, he's going to have like 2.7 yards per carry, and everybody's going to call him washed. And it's going to make me mad. It already is. Already is making me mad.
CJ Stroud about to look like who's the guy from Kansas State? Was it Gunnar Gundy when his hands were
that was
shaking?
The Oklahoma State guy, yeah.
Oklahoma State, sorry. Who did I say? Ohio State?
You said Kansas State.
Kansas State.
Kansas State, sorry.
He already looked like you. Did you see the playoffs, dude? He already looks like that.
He's just
Yeah. Dude, he was that New England game, dude, he was seeing ghosts. But the storyline in the playoffs isn't like they won against Pittsburgh, yeah, whatever. But he played bad in the Pittsburgh game, and then the New England game, Stroud just
the story of the playoffs was how bad it was. This was one of the worst playoffs.
Like, we're like, what, 3 or 4 weeks removed from the Super Bowl?
No one cares.
There's not like the one memorable play of the Super Bowl is the scoop and score for me. That's like, even then, it's like, okay, it just wasn't a very entertaining playoff run. I don't know if you guys agree, but
The one play that plays in my mind is Bo Nix kneeling the ball, which resulted in his or was part of what resulted in his injury.
yeah, That's going to be a what if for Denver for a long time. Is what
Especially
if
if he never bounces back from that.
yeah, what if they never get back to that point, and the only reason they didn't go to the Super Bowl, because I would assume had they had Bo in that AFC title game, they probably would have beat New England.
Oh yeah.
Man, that could be some crazy, crazy history if they don't end up getting back there. But I think they will eventually. They're a good team.